What was your
So
price point when you started?
with that, because it was not too far off where I am now with my price points, because it's rented art curations in the city and they're exclusive to the company, it's a separate thing in its own. So there was a bit more of a premium on those prices purely because they were rental artworks. So I could get those artworks back after 6 months and they wouldn't pay the full price as if you bought it, for instance.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And as a framework, just give me a range just so I have an idea of what we're looking at. Are we talking like
anything from I'd say like the most expensive work was like £5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's good.
Yeah. No, it's good. If I sell one of those these days, it's great. It's a good day.
And so from that, at what point did you decide? Was there like a light bulb moment that went off and you're like, I'm making enough to do this? Or did you just throw it all to the wind? Or did you keep doing your other jobs while you made art? Like when was the flip?
Yeah, no, I still kept going with that job and onto other jobs as well. But that was the point that I realized that, because I've always wanted to be an artist and a musician. Those are two things that like I love. They're my passions. And whether I was making a living off it or making nothing at all, I'd still be doing it no matter what. Yeah. But it's at that point that I realized that there is the possibility to make money from this and actually make a living and support myself, which was a real kind of confidence boost for me, because I didn't know that. I'd heard it and I knew you could do it, but until you actually start doing it, you don't believe it.
Until someone starts buying your work, like it feels like it might, like you always have that feeling like no one's ever going to buy my work. It feels far away until it's not.
Exactly. And it's one of those, there's also the turning point of when you start out, you rely on like family and friends to support you, and they might buy like a print or something like that. And you're like, oh, thank you so much. You'd be doing this, whatever. It's when you start having strangers and randomers wanting to buy your work. You're like, oh, this feels amazing.
Yeah, there's no better feeling. So that's actually a nice segue in terms of prints. So let's talk like the product and revenue side, which is obviously you make full like canvas works.
Yes, that's the main thing. Yeah.
What other? Obviously, that's the main thing. But do you have other verticals, if you will? Do you do prints? Like I saw something on your website about sculpt kits, which I want to ask about. What are the side hustles, or even within the art? Like people have multiple revenue streams. Have you found that you have multiple revenue streams, and do you find that any of them are actually worth pursuing?
It's a tricky question. So yes, in answer, I do prints. I have a couple of prints out there now. I don't know, I've never been like that in love with prints, purely because for me, my work is about the originality of it, and that there is one. And with an original work, you can see the textures and you can follow the brush marks. I think you do get that to an extent with a print, but some of it is lost. The reason I do prints is because I just want to make my work affordable to anybody, really. I don't want to kind of price people out, basically. So yeah, I mean, I've done a few different prints, and they're not, I don't know, in the past I've done one for £65. Now they're 85 to 120, something around that. Okay. So not crazy money. It's affordable.
Are they? I assume they're limited editions or open editions.
Limited, always, yeah. I'd never do like more than 100. That's the highest edition I've done. I think after that, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not famous enough to do more than that, I don't think. I'll just have them sitting in my studio for years otherwise.
Did you play with NFTs or anything like that at all? Or did you get into that craze, or you just skipped it?
Everybody always asks me about this.
I
still now even get like texts from friends who are not artists, and they're like, Marcus, have you heard about NFTs? You should totally do this. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard about NFTs, man. Oh. Yeah, I did hear about NFTs years ago now. And actually it was a collector of mine who's a young guy, really nice, and we've become friends. And he texted me and was like, look, you've got to get on this. He started doing it, and he said he was creating the NFTs based on other abstract artists' work as well as mine. And he was making loads of money. And I was like, okay, that sounds really interesting and tempting. I went through the whole rigmarole of setting it up, creating the NFTs, had it all ready to go. And then I was like, no, I didn't do it. Yeah, I don't know. They exist, they're out there, but I've never told or put it out there and told anyone that I'm doing them because I just don't know how I feel about them.
Something that might make them that much more valuable one day as people like struggle to find them and figure that out, and that they live out there in the ether. Don't worry, you'll have another bite at that apple.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know.
Time around,
yeah,
I think artists will take advantage the second time around. Like true, like real producing artists will will win the next time. Did you ever go back to making sculptures or?
No, but it's something I keep thinking about, and I have it on my to-do list, and it's been there for a few years actually. But there is like a sculptural kind of element in my works.
Yeah,
I
was going to say that,
and that's where it started actually. So I keep wanting to do it. It's just finding the time and the space where I have the freedom to do that, because it's something that is a risk, and I'm not going to be making money from it necessarily. It's purely just a passion project because I want to do it. And also it's a whole different studio setup, which it's going to get messy in a different sort of way.
Yeah. Do you produce a lot of work, or like how many pieces a year do you produce on average? Is it relatively?
Good question. Yeah, I do. I'm quite a prolific producer, I would say. I don't know how many I produce in a year. It's hard to say because I think I produce work in projects and series. So if I have a show coming up or something like that, I will like just work flat out for a month or two on this series. But then, yeah, I do make time to just make work for making work's sake. And that's the best time because you've got no pressures or like expectations in just creating stuff and experimenting, having fun, which is like ultimately what, for me, the best thing about making art is.
You said that you get ready for shows. I've noticed that you've done like a zillion shows. So do you have, so let's like take a turn in terms of, where do you sell most of your art? Is it like via gallery? Is it through online galleries? Is it via Instagram? Is it via Art Advisor? What was the path to sell art, and where do you find most of that inbound traffic coming from?
It's changed. It has changed, what I imagine anyway. I know it has. I can just see it, and speaking to friends where those selling points have been over time. So initially when I started out, it was very much relying on being in a space, in a gallery, or like at an art, and relying on other people to help me sell those things. And on the other end of that, a good example, which I'm sure like most other artists during the COVID kind of lockdown thing, I used to sell through Instagram fairly well, but then during the lockdown, that like Instagram blew up for me, and I was selling every piece that I posted, I would sell the same day. Really? It was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, and more, because people would say, oh, it's not available. And then I'd send them my available price list, and then they would buy something off that. I was going into the lockdown, I was really nervous because before that, I was reliant on physical in-person shows to sell my work. And then off the back of that, I had no idea what was going to happen. But then, yeah, it was by far my most profitable year.
So that it's funny. So the idea of, and so many artists, just because we're in this transition where to be in the quote unquote art world, you used to have like that representation and had to have that. Now, like you can own and so you can control like obviously it's much, much better margin, right? You don't have to give the gallery half.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so that's one of the areas that I'm really curious about is like how, like, it sounds like you just hit it where like your Instagram just like the images were right.
Yeah.
They were beautiful. People connected with them, and it just created this like amazing little flywheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever do like advertising or just posted content?
At that time, no. My Instagram page at that time was growing very quickly. It's doing all the things that people complain about Instagram now not doing. And it in a way, it changed my life. And yeah, it made me think, wow, I can actually make a really good, decent living off this. And it was great because I was connecting with lots of other artists as well, having great conversations, and then going on to meet them up in real life as well as like just online. And also meeting collectors who I'm still in touch with now. And they, from time to time, they'll come back to me and they'll buy other works. So yeah, it was a really, really good time to learn a lot about what it is to run your own business and, most importantly, make strong relationships.
Hold on, I lost you there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I lost
Can you hear
for
me?
1 second. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. All right.